It has been 5 years since the groundbreaking release of The Witcher 3. After many Game of the Year awards and praise from critics and fans alike, we are here to discuss if the game still holds up and if you should buy it in 2020. I will be one to admit that until just recently, I had never played this game before. Back in 2015, I was a lot more into first-person shooters, and while an open-world fantasy RPG like The Witcher 3 sounded very intriguing, I didn't care enough about story-driven games or Witcher lore to give it a try. And let me just say, I'm glad I finally did. Now, being completely new to the series, the game's story and lore felt extremely confusing and overwhelming to me at first, but after I put a few hours in, I was quickly engaged. The plot of trying to find Geralt's long-lost daughter, Ciri, was a very emotional and heartfelt story. And now since this is an RPG, you are going to have to do a lot of secondary quests and Witcher contracts in order to reach the required level to continue the main quest. At first, I found these secondary quests and Witcher contracts to be slightly boring and repetitive, but after a while I grew to like tracking down mysterious monsters and identifying where they are from and what their weaknesses are, and then crafting or using required signs and potions to defeat them. So while the contracts and secondary quests may have been a bit repetitive, it really makes up for it in huge variety and uniqueness of monsters, places, and stories behind each quest. The Witcher 3 has some incredibly diverse and intriguing storytelling, not to mention the choices in each quest that really add a bit of uniqueness. Each choice you make in The Witcher 3 has an impact and consequences which many games advertise but never actually achieve. And well, The Witcher 3 actually does. Even choices you make towards the beginning of the story can have an impact on the end of the game, and as you progress, your choices will start determining what ending you get for the end of the story. I was also quite surprised with Geralt as a character. At first, he came off to me as a bit one-dimensional and emotionless, but Geralt's lack of emotion is actually what makes him such a cool and interesting character. It's clear Geralt really doesn't fear anything. His lack of emotion actually sets up an extremely genuine and emotional story in trying to find and protect Ciri. As you can really tell, Ciri is one of the few things Geralt genuinely cares about. The love story for Geralt is also very dramatic and entertaining. The love triangle between Geralt, Yennefer, and Triss actually has a large role in the story, and giving the players the option to choose who Geralt ends up with was a great idea. Something else I really loved about the main story was how inevitable the fight against the army of the Wild Hunt was built up. At one point I thought that I was at the end of the story because of how grand and intense the fight was. And while we were on topic, the Wild Hunt were great antagonists. A mysterious and strong army that wanted to hunt down Ciri was a great concept, and the Wild Hunt was overall well portrayed, and it really felt like you were fighting an impossible fight throughout the story. I believe there are 3 different endings you can get in The Witcher 3, and the ending I got I found to be very satisfying and overall left me happy with how the series ended. The Witcher 3's combat was quite simple with a dodge and parry system, and quick attacks and strong attacks, and while it was simple, it hardly ever got old, and by the end of the game, it still felt just as enjoyable, especially with the different amounts of bosses and different enemy types you fight throughout the story. There are also some additions like signs and potions that shake up combat and give it more variety and skill. The alchemy tab for making potions may at first appear overwhelming, but after a while you will learn to use it and memorize what potions are effective against which monsters. The bestiary, which is basically an encyclopedia of monsters, gave you a reason to do research on your enemies and learn where they came from and what is effective against them. The ability tab also did a great job of giving more control over your Witcher, and it allowed you to create a playstyle and build based upon your abilities. Another thing The Witcher 3 excels at is the customization and items. You will come across so many lootable items in The Witcher 3 that can range from a Drowner tongue to a master crafted sword. The pure scale of customization is truly impressive, and I've hardly found out what half of the items I got were even used for. You can also upgrade each weapon and piece of gear you get with stones that increase the power of signs, your attack power, or even cause things like fire and freezing effects. The amount of combinations you can make with your gear is endless and made me crave for more treasure hunts and exploration so I could find some better loot. The leveling process in this game is a long and grindy one. Like I mentioned earlier, you will have to spend a lot of time doing side quests and contracts in order to level up, and oftentimes it will be a grind, but it is a very fun one. This includes things like competing in races on horseback, fist fights, and the addicting card game, Gwent. Each new level came with great satisfaction, and it encouraged me to complete all the side quests and contracts the game had to offer. It took me around 65 hours to finish the main story, and I still have hours of side quests left that could easily put my runtime over the 100-hour mark, and that is not even including the 2 massive DLCs. My only one real complaint with this game's gameplay are some mechanical bugs. A lot of time ragdolls will go flying and your horse Roach will get stuck on about every rock in sight, but other than that, there is hardly any negatives with the gameplay, and it makes for a mostly smooth and action-packed experience.
Asleep amidst the trees.
One of The Witcher 3's greatest and most impressive strengths is its vibrant and unique world. The world of The Witcher 3 is huge, and I still have so much to explore even when the game is over. The amount of variety is probably the best I've ever seen from a game. I mean, we are talking all of it, with spooky caves, snowy mountains, misty islands, bustling cities, farmland, swamps, and large medieval themed castles. There is so much in this game to explore, and the chances you actually get to see all of it are very slim. The offline NPCs were also very well programmed, and the ongoing conversations and actions you see and hear as you pass by really make the world feel alive and that you are actually in it. Some NPCs will even stop you as you're passing by to talk or request something of you. The world is also changing and evolving as time passes in the story. In cities like Novigrad, when you notice that the guards start hunting witches and mages, or in Velen when you see the towns being looted and destroyed in the Baron's absence. The amount of detail put into each unique place is so admirable and really makes The Witcher 3 seem like a game way ahead of its time. The Witcher 3 is a game that has achieved what many few games have, and its captivating and emotional story paired with fluid gameplay and a sprawling open world makes up one of the best open world RPGs ever made. You should absolutely buy this game in 2020, and I'm sure I will be saying the same thing another 5 years from now. And as of right now, The Witcher 3 is $15 on Steam and PlayStation and $20 on Xbox, which is an absolute steal for a game this good. So if you are ever planning on playing it, now would be the perfect time. If you do decide to buy The Witcher 3, let me know what you thought of the game in the comments, or if you have already played the game, let me know what you thought and would you still recommend it in 2020. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Again, thank you for watching and have a fantastic day, Witchers.